Good morning and welcome back to the Commission's press room. Today is still Thursday, the 26th of November, and we are here with Executive Vice President Vestager for a press conference on an antitrust case. Executive Vice President, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Today, the Commission has fined the pharmaceutical companies Teva and Cephalon a total of 60 million euros. They agreed to delay the market entry of Teva's cheaper generic version of Cephalon's sleeping disorder medicine, modafinil. Such agreements are called pay-for-delay agreements. They stand in the way for competition, and they are illegal under EU antitrust rules. Pharmaceutical companies, they bring innovation. Innovation which require large investment in research and development to find new medicines and new treatments. And we as society and citizens benefit enormously from such innovations. Pharmaceutical companies that innovate, they contribute significantly to overcome some of the most serious diseases. And as an example, a topical one, bringing potentially life-saving medicines to citizens. To encourage and reward this innovation, our patent systems give the companies that develop new medicines, so-called originators, exclusive rights for a certain period of time. Patents offer a temporary protection from competition in order to allow for innovators to recoup the costs of discovering and developing new medicines. And this is also important because research, well, it's not always successful, but the cost of the research still needs to be incurred. But patent protection is temporary. Once the time to recoup is over, then other companies can enter the market with their generic products. With competition, medicines becomes more affordable. And we know that generic entry in pharmaceutical markets, well, it can lead to very significant drops in prices, sometimes up to 90%. And this is good for patients, and it's good for health budgets. A pay-for-delay arrangement disturbs this normal cycle. When originators buy off potential generic entrants to delay the moment when competition starts and cheaper medicines becomes available, well, they interfere with the fine balance between the protection of intellectual property and the benefits of competition. Pay-for-delay arrangements, they serve both the originator and the generic entrant well. The originator, well, they enjoy extended super competitive profits, and the generic company gets the money and other benefits. But it means that patients and health budgets, well, they lose out. They have to pay the higher prices. Today's decision found that patent settlement between Cephalon and its generic challenger Teva was exactly this type of pay-for-delay agreement, which is illegal under EU antitrust rules. The arrangement and the agreement concerned modafinil, a medicine used to treat sleeping disorders and associated in particular with narcolepsy, a neurological illness. Cephalon's main patent on modafinil had expired at the time of the agreement, but Cephalon held secondary patents relating to how its modafinil-based medicine was composed. Cephalon hoped that those patents would keep out generic competition for some time longer, but it feared that they were weak and not sufficient to stop generic companies from entering the markets and launching their own product. And this is what happened in June 2005, when Teva introduced its generic modafinil product in the UK at half the original price. Cephalon responded with an infringement lawsuit alleging a breach of its patent. Shortly after, the two companies agreed to settle the dispute. This is not an issue as such, but as part of the settlement, Teva received a package of commercial side deals and cash payments, and in return, Teva committed not to compete against Cephalon and not to challenge its patents. Our investigation showed that the only reason Teva agreed to settle and not to compete was that Cephalon offered to share its extra profits it would make by delaying entry. Our investigation also showed that Cephalon offered cash payments and side deals to induce Teva to the settlement agreement. In this way, Cephalon replaced the risk of competition and litigation with the certainty of additional profits. Teva replaced the risk of competition and litigation with the certainty of the value transfers it received from Cephalon. To reach our conclusion, we analyzed a large amount of internal documents and other evidence from the time of the settlement agreement. And this evidence showed how negotiations took place, how the package of transaction was the price to pay Teva to stay out of the market. To give a few examples, Cephalon gave Teva a lucrative supply contract, earning Teva at least 5 million euros in profits, although at the time Cephalon could fully cover its needs without these additional supplies. Cephalon also paid a significant amount for a license to Teva's secondary patents, developed to pave the way for Teva's generic entry. And yet, our investigation shows that Cephalon did not see a need for those licenses, nor did Cephalon ever use the licenses. For several years, this agreement eliminated Teva as a competitor and allowed Cephalon to continue charging high prices even though the main modafinil patent had long expired. In other words, this arrangement secured it, and here I quote, 6 more years of patent protection that no one expected, end of quote. In the absence of the pay-for-delay settlement agreement, Teva could have entered the market earlier and pushed down the prices to the benefit of patients and health budgets. And obviously it means that for years, patients, national health system, taxpayers lost out on lower prices, maybe also on innovation. The infringement lasted from the time of the settlement agreement was signed in 2005 and until Teva acquired Cephalon in 2011. Today's decision is the 4th pay-for-delay decision that the Commission adopts. It is nonetheless significant because of the form taken by the payments. In previous cases, generic entry was delayed by means of simple cash payments. In the present case, the mechanism was much more sophisticated, relying on some cash payments and a package of seemingly standard commercial deals. So our decision gives a clear signal that the form of the payment doesn't matter. So what matters is that value is being transferred from a patent holder to a potential generic entrant with the aim of delaying entry. Our decision therefore provides a clear signal to the pharmaceutical companies that delaying generic entry is not tolerated under EU competition law, and obviously we will remain vigilant. In many cases, people's lives, and their well-being, it depends on medicines. So keeping medicines affordable is of utmost importance. All patients, all health systems, they deserve that the pharmaceutical markets work well. Cephalon's product was an important drug for patients suffering from narcolepsy. The majority of sales occurred in the US, the European market for modafinil represented about 50 million euros a year, or 5% of global sales. But that doesn't change the fact that this decision shows that competition law enforcement has an important role to play also in the wider efforts to make medicine accessible and affordable for patients and for health budgets. And this holds for any kind of medication, that be blockbusters or not. So competition law enforcement complements the Commission's efforts in this respect. Yesterday, the Commission launched its pharmaceutical strategy. In this strategy, access to innovative and affordable medicines is a clear target for the Commission. This is what we aim at. The strategy also stresses that the entry of cheaper generic and biosimilar medicines plays a big role for the affordability of medicines and in achieving savings for the health system. The Commission has also launched, and I was in the press room yesterday on this as well, an intellectual property action plan to address a number of the challenges in intellectual property protection. So just to conclude, this decision today sends a clear message. Intellectual property rights in pharmaceutical markets, they are crucial to provide the right incentive to innovate. They can, however, not be misused, to delay in an artificial way entry in a market. And we remain determined to enforce competition rules so that patients and health systems, authorities in member states can take full advantage of a pharmaceutical industry that is innovative and that produces affordable and accessible medicines. Thank you.
Many thanks, Executive Vice President, for this introduction to the topic. We are now ready to take